I'm the CEO's daughter. Old hag, make me a coffee. The new employee, Avery, who got in through connections, looked at me with a mocking expression and treated me like an old woman. Sure, I'm 5 years older than you, but I'm still in my 20s. That's not the point, though. It's a problem that she doesn't do any work and does whatever she wants. When I pointed that out to her, I'm going to tell Dad and get you fired. What an unreasonable and absurd logic. Chloe, are you okay? My concerned boss, Victoria, asked, and I responded with a smile. Why are you smiling? Because she doesn't understand anything. That's true. Victoria agreed, looking convinced. All right, time to fight back against this spoiled CEO's daughter who is too naive about the real world. I'm Chloe, 28 years old, working at a large manufacturing company. I've been employed for 6 years and feel a sense of fulfillment despite the busy days. I'm blessed with great colleagues, and although there's an age gap, I'm particularly close with Victoria, who is 41. She is my admirable boss who works while raising her 8-year-old daughter, always considerate of others. Currently, what troubles me is the presence of a new employee, Avery, who is 23. She's the daughter of an important client, and she got in through connections. Apparently, her father asked our executive director to take her in. He wanted her to gain some social experience and learn the harshness of the world outside his company, where she would inevitably be treated as the CEO's daughter. The overall training for new employees ended, and departmental training began, and I was appointed as her mentor. I thought it would be a valuable experience for me as well, so I took it on positively. However, she was late on her first day. Her outfit was flashy and revealing, with heavy makeup and nails. It seemed completely wrong for work. Moreover, her manners and greetings were terrible. What? A mentor? I don't need one. I'm finally done with the annoying overall training, so I can just look around wherever I want, right? I almost stumbled. This isn't an elementary school workplace tour. No, that's an insult to elementary school kids. While I was thinking that, Chloe, how old are you? She suddenly asked. What? I'm 28. 28? Old hag. You better get married soon, or you'll hit 30. Your clothes and makeup are so out of style, nothing to admire. She started like this right away. I don't care about me, but you should dress more modestly. Remove those nails by tomorrow. What? Why? It's fine if it's a light color or plain, but with all that glitter and stones, I can't take you on outside appointments. But I just had these done at the nail salon. You wouldn't understand, old hag, but they cost a lot. Forcing me to remove them would be a problem. What? What kind of thought process is this? We're supposed to be from the same generation, but I can't relate at all. Maybe growing up as a CEO's daughter makes her think differently. Even if she got in through connections, she still needs to do her job properly. I was frustrated but told myself to stay calm. First, I'll teach her the job and gradually build trust. Then, her attitude should change. However, she quickly betrayed my expectations. She has no motivation at all. She never read the documents I gave her, and whenever I asked her to do copies or data entry, she had the part-time employees do it behind my back. I heard about it from Victoria, who is in charge of the part-timers. Moreover, she claimed to be the daughter of a CEO from one of our clients and spoke in a way that made it hard for others to oppose her. There were other issues too. She'd disappear to the restroom and not return for an hour, or leave early in the evening without notice. Talking to her about these issues was futile. I grew more and more exhausted every day. Any questions so far? No. Were you paying attention? Yes. You haven't taken any notes. Notes? In this day and age? You can look up anything online. Maybe that's too advanced for you, old hag. There's only a 5-year age difference between us. I had to bite back my irritation. Sure, the internet is convenient, and I often have people use it to find information. But the experience and knowledge specific to our company are very important. Passing down this information from superiors helps build relationships with clients. It's crucial for handling new projects too. She sneered at me. You're really annoying, just like those awful people you always find in workplaces. What? By the way, I want James to be my mentor. What? He's handsome and my type. I'd actually pay attention if he were my mentor. James is the star of the sales department. He doesn't have time for training newbies. Then I'll just tag along. You said we could choose training based on our interests, right? That's meant for interests in products or proposals we visit. Oh? Are you saying my enthusiasm is a problem for you? No, but James was my mentor when I was a rookie. Handsome and competent, admired by many female employees. I was one of them. She didn't do her job but flitted around departments chatting up male employees. Now she had set her sights on James. She quickly went to James and his supervisor, arranging to shadow him on a sales call. I'm going to do my best tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. What exactly does she plan to do her best at? I felt a headache coming on. That evening, while I was working late, James returned from his rounds. Good work. You're still here? Training the newbie has been taking up my time, so my own work has fallen behind. Oh, that girl shadowing me tomorrow, right? I heard she's a handful from Victoria. It's no laughing matter. Despite my words, my voice was lighter talking to James after so long. He really was handsome. Talking to him felt like a balm to my stressed heart. For you to be struggling, she must be something. She really is. I'm sorry for the trouble tomorrow. Don't worry. Use the time to catch up on your own work. Yes. Also, just be careful. Of what? The next day, after she eagerly shadowed James, she was in a foul mood. Submit your report on yesterday's sales training. There's nothing to report. That can't be true. Just write the report. It's unnecessary. What do you mean? That's for regular employees who need to work hard. Do you really think I'm like the other newbies? What? I'm going to be the future CEO. I don't need to do the same work as ordinary employees. That's not a good attitude. Your father sent you here to learn properly, so you need to study. Study? There's nothing to learn from regular employees. Hey, old hag, hurry up and make some coffee. You know, enough is enough. I found myself speaking in a strong tone. Oh, scary. What do you think you're doing? Yelling at me in a private meeting room like this, it's a threat. What? I'll tell Dad. And I'll tell the executive here who is close with Dad. You're unfit as a mentor, and I'll get you fired. I was stunned. This was a matter of character. Using her status as the company president's daughter, she had no intention of doing her job. I've been trying to take her seriously, but I've reached my limit. Mocking those who work hard, doing whatever she pleases. I've had enough. I've made up my mind. If you want to tell them, go ahead. You should just apologize, but instead you act like this. You're finished. Just wait and see. I didn't say out loud which of us would be finished. Now, I have to go tell Dad. She glanced at me and left. It's not even work hours yet. When I returned to my seat, everyone was looking at me with concern. Even though it was a meeting room, it was just a corner of the floor, so they must have heard our exchange. "Are you okay?" "She left saying you bullied her and she's going to sue." Victoria. "I saw her behavior too. If there's anything I can do to help, let me know." "I'm fine. Thank you." The next day, she came to me with a triumphant look on her face. "Dad and the executive want to see you. They said to come to the meeting room." The atmosphere became tense, and Victoria rushed to my side. "This is bad, isn't it? I'll help you out." She pounced on Victoria's words. Another old hag coming to the rescue. "Help? There's nothing a commoner like you can do." "What?" "Come on, hurry up," she said and walked away. "Victoria, did you hear that?" "Chloe, why are you laughing?" "Because she still doesn't get it." "Yeah, we have to show her," Victoria said with a wink, agreeing with me. When I entered the meeting room, behind her were our executive and a client company's president, her father, Mr. Garcia. "You're Chloe, Avery's mentor?" "Yes." "Avery came to us saying that your excessive mentoring is causing her distress." After Mr. Garcia's words, the executive looked doubtful and spoke. "I've heard you force her to do unreasonable work without teaching her how. That you verbally abuse her every day, is that true?" "That's not true. Avery doesn't do any work, doesn't listen when I talk to her, so I did caution her, but I never used abusive language." "What?" At my resolute attitude, the executive and Mr. Garcia looked at each other. Without missing a beat. "Lies. She took me to sales meetings without any documents or briefings, making me embarrass myself on purpose, and told me to create data in an hour without teaching me how." Avery interjected. "You never listened or read the documents, right? I warned you many times and tried various ways to teach you, but you didn't listen. Moreover, you pushed your clerical work and data creation onto part-time workers, didn't you?" At my orderly explanation, the executive and Mr. Garcia looked at each other and tilted their heads. "Hey, Avery. This isn't what I heard." "Dad, who are you going to believe, me or this old hag?" "What? Old hag? This person is still young and is your mentor. How can you talk like that to her?" Mr. Garcia began to get confused, and I said, "Avery leaves without notice, doesn't do any research or preparation, and I've heard several complaints about her saying rude things to customers and ruining business negotiations." "What? No way! Who's saying that?" Avery was in a panic. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. "Excuse me." "What?" It was James who walked in. "I'll explain the issues with the client. I've also spoken to the subordinates and colleagues involved." "What are you talking about?" "I wasn't planning to make an issue out of your troublemaking, but if you're lying to get a supervisor fired, that's a different story." James approached her with the confidence that came from his top position in sales. "It's not a lie. This guy is just saying this because I turned him down. Dad, look at this." Avery showed her phone to everyone around her. It was a picture of her and James, apparently taken at a client meeting location. "This is the hotel lounge. After this, he forced me into his room." "What?" Everyone was momentarily stunned by her sudden counterattack. "James, is this true?" Both the senior executive and Mr. Garcia raised their voices. James, the normally unflappable and reliable employee, couldn't possibly have done this, but the photo caused a stir. However, he firmly stated, "It's the other way around. She was the one who tried to get me to go to the room, and I refused." What? No. Dad, Mr. Senior Executive, you know who's telling the truth here, don't you? Well, but... The senior executive knew James was an excellent employee. However, with Avery's convincing act and her beauty, it was hard to decide whom to believe. James sighed. I never thought this would actually come in handy. What? This time, he pulled out his phone. A recording of a conversation between a man and a woman played from the phone. Hey, come on, let's go to the room already. No way. I came because you said you had something to discuss about work. Don't be shy. James, you're special, so I booked a suite. If the chemistry is right, I'll make you my boyfriend. What nonsense are you talking about? And what was your attitude at the client meeting today? You didn't even read the materials I gave you. Work doesn't matter. Just treat me like a princess already. I absolutely won't, and I'm not interested in you like that. What? Are you trying to embarrass me? Do you know who my dad is? If you refuse, I'll cancel our deal. Are you threatening me? I'm the CEO's daughter. And the HR manager here does whatever I say, so I can affect your evaluation however I want. The HR manager? No way. After one date, he was hooked on me. He'll do anything I say. I need to lower the evaluation of that annoying supervisor too. The explicit content of the conversation caused an uproar. What is this? How did you get this recording? She turned pale. Chloe told me that Avery's behavior was unpredictable, so I recorded it just in case. Other employees have also been tricked or treated to expensive dinners. There are also subordinates who had to do her tasks and work. I can gather testimonies and evidence if necessary. What is this? She glared at me, spitting out nonsensical words. This is your fault. I won't forgive you. Dad, cancel our business with this company and teach them a lesson. What are you talking about? Mr. Garcia turned pale. Dad? If we lose this deal, it'll be our company that suffers. What? I've heard everything. A dignified voice rang out as our company president entered. President! The senior executive, Mr. Garcia, and everyone present straightened up. We allowed her to join because of our long-term relationship with her father's company and because she's the daughter of the senior executive's friend, but it seems we made a mistake. I'm sorry. Avery caused trouble. Hey, apologize. What? Why? Why should I? Avery seemed at a loss for what to do. Then, a woman's voice came from behind the president. You've taken advantage of your status as the president's daughter and learned nothing. What? Mr. Garcia's company is one of our important partners, but its scale is 10 times larger than ours. It's a different league. The voice belonged to Victoria. It seemed the president's appearance was a setup for Victoria's entrance. Exactly. If we lose this partnership, it's our company that will be in trouble. You're here to learn, not to cause issues. What? It seemed it was the first time Mr. Garcia had yelled at her, and she was on the verge of tears. But why is that old hag here? Acting all high and mighty. A part-time leader shouldn't be speaking up. You really don't know anything, do you? I shot back strongly. What? Not only are you ignorant, but you also don't listen to others. What's your problem? Victoria is the president's daughter. She's our company's president's daughter. What? Avery was stunned into silence. How can this old hag, over 40, working hard despite having children, be the president's daughter? It's because of your careless thinking that you're in this situation. What? Victoria, called an old hag, hit back. Even before I got married, I was often treated special as the president's daughter. But I worked hard to change that environment, building trust with those around me. Following Victoria's lead, I continued. As you said, Victoria doesn't need to work to live comfortably. But she didn't quit even after marriage and childbirth, and she has been leading efforts to create a better working environment for women. When I joined the company, Victoria's surname had already changed due to marriage, so I didn't initially know she was the president's daughter. She praised my work, and as we became close personally, she shared her background with me. Although it was well known within the company that she was the president's daughter, she never mentioned it herself, and now no one treats her differently. It's not because she's the president's daughter, but because of her work and personality that she is respected by everyone. The content of the recording will be reviewed by the head of HR. If it's true, he'll be disciplined as well. You must take responsibility for what you've done. The president effectively declared Avery's dismissal. No, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. The president turned his back on her as she cried and screamed and left the scene. After that, Avery was, of course, dismissed from her position. She fled before her contract was officially terminated, though. Mr. Garcia repeatedly apologized, but the president ceased their business relationship. Avery was then sent to a remote town's factory, where she reportedly faced rigorous training from experienced supervisors. Under the strict guidance, without any favoritism towards her status as the president's daughter, she was probably realizing just how sheltered her life had been. I was relieved from the stress of training her, but was swamped with the backlog of work accumulated during her time here. Even so, I was happy to be able to focus purely on my work, and the overtime didn't bother me. And about a month later, when things had settled down, Victoria invited me to dinner. Is it okay to go to such a nice place? My husband is watching our daughter tonight. It's been a tough time for you, hasn't it? No. I ended up being helped by you. Thank you again. You should have relied on me from the start. My status only comes in handy in situations like that. She joked like that. Although she doesn't approve of using her position as the CEO's daughter, she doesn't hesitate to use it to help someone. I truly admire her straightforwardness. Well, it's because you're working so hard on your own that I want to help you. Both James and I. Victoria smiled meaningfully. I had previously told Victoria that I had feelings for James. I was surprised that James came to the scene. He told me to contact him if anything happened to you. When I texted him, he rushed over. He really wanted to help you. Victoria had a mischievous smile. Why don't you confess your feelings soon? I thought I should wait until I become more competent. James is the ace of the sales department. If you keep saying that, someone else might become his girlfriend. How many years have you had a crush on him? And I think you're already competent enough. Right, James? Huh? Following Victoria's gaze, I turned around to find James standing there. Wait, what's going on? I blushed in a panic. Oh, are we three today? James, please come here. Excuse me. As soon as James sat down, Victoria stood up. Well, you two young people, enjoy your time. Huh? James and I said simultaneously. Wait, where are you going? I have to return to my beloved family. Oh, please start the course at this table. Victoria happily told the waiter and patted James on the shoulder. Well, I'll leave the rest to you. The bill is already paid. James, who had been stunned until then, seemed to understand and nodded. Thank you very much. See you. Victoria left. What, she really left? Were you also invited by Victoria today, James? Yes, she said we should celebrate a big contract. Really? Is it okay to have a feast without Victoria? What? Are you unhappy with just the two of us? Not at all. I hurriedly denied it. You really like Victoria, don't you? Yes. Isn't she incredibly cool? She is indeed cool. But I'm a bit jealous. Huh? James, you're also cool. Don't say it like it's an afterthought. I really think so. So how many years have you liked me? From the beginning. Hey, wait a minute. James smiled mischievously. Did you hear? Sorry, I heard. Aware of my blushing face, I made up my mind. It's okay, you don't have to say it. Huh? I'll say it after dinner. For now, let's enjoy the treat. Huh? As I was dumbfounded, James smiled a little shyly. I can't believe it. I can't believe it, I can't believe it. But does this mean, could it be? Both Victoria and James are really cool people. It's a blessing to be recognized by people I respect. While chasing my beloved too, I will keep moving forward, just being myself. Even though I hadn't drunk a drop of alcohol, I thought about that with a red face. Take care of the kids for me. What do you mean, take care of them? Yosef said it so casually, but would I have accepted it if nothing had happened? I'm still not sure. Yosef was supposed to be on a business trip, but apparently, he got into an accident at his destination. I received a call and went to St. Helena, known for a resort. The sudden increase in business trips, happening several times a month, was suspicious. And an employee of a copier company getting into a traffic accident in a touristic place? Something was definitely up. While I was at the hospital thinking about all this, I ran into my sister, Emily. Why was Emily here? And why was she in this place with Yosef? Even in this clearly cornered situation, he thought he could still cover it up. It was infuriating. Did he think I would just let this slide? I have strong allies, so Yosef can't escape without consequences. He should face reality and reconsider his future actions. My name is Ivy. I'm a 33-year-old preschool teacher. After graduating from a community college in the state, I started working at a fairly large town's preschool. Being a preschool teacher is more challenging than I thought, but being around the always smiling children somehow cleanses my heart. However, since I'm always dealing with children at work, sometimes I crave conversations with adults. Even when I want to have age-appropriate conversations with adults, I look around and see dozens of children. There are a few fellow teachers, but in front of the children, we are always just teachers. Work is busy, and it's hard to find time to catch up with friends from college. I don't have time to make friends with shared hobbies either, so I'm always Mississippi Sanders when interacting with others. I interact and connect as a teacher, not as an adult in an adult conversation. At my workplace, the preschool, I am just a teacher and nothing more. One day, a senior colleague handed over the task of managing the copier at work. It was a job previously handled by a teacher going on maternity leave, and it fell to me, the one who seemed the most idle and timid. Honestly, managing the copier was just an additional burden. I wanted to leave work early and have fewer tasks, so to me, it was just a chore. Handling the copier management, on top of my usual work, was unbearable. Making sure the copier worked smoothly, refilling ink, managing the paper stock. These were the most troublesome tasks. But I never imagined that someone who would dispel my gloomy feelings would appear. In the early afternoon, the preschool bell rang, summoning the person in charge of the copier to the office. Since it was nap time for the children, I informed my partner teacher and headed to the office. "Excuse me, I'm here to check the copier." At that moment, I felt a reaction as if an electric current had run through me. I didn't know why, maybe his looks? His voice? There was something indescribable. "Oh, yes. I'm in charge. I took over from the previous person. Nice to meet you." "Nice to meet you too. I'm from the copier company." My first impression of Yosef was strange. It wasn't the kind of feeling one usually has for a business contact. It was oddly familiar. "Oh, the girl from the morning. But you wouldn't know me. Do you sometimes stop by the convenience store near the bus terminal in the morning?" I remembered with that one sentence. "Oh, the one by the new snack section at the convenience store." Sometimes, I stop by the convenience store near the bus terminal to buy lunch or drinks. Depending on the day, I purchase different items, but when I go at a set time, there's always someone there. Just after entering the store, near the prominently displayed shelf of new products, stands a man intently choosing what to buy. That was him. "You know, I used to see you at the convenience store. I never imagined we'd meet like this." That's my line. I was curious about the new snacks, but I was also curious about the young lady I sometimes saw. Could such a thing really happen? Usually, I deal with children at work and have no opportunities to meet men, but I remember feeling a flutter in my heart at that moment. "I don't think it's appropriate to talk about work here. How about exchanging contact information? If you don't mind, that is." "Of course, I don't mind. I'd be happy to." On the day I was meeting with the copier company representative, we ended up exchanging contact information out of the blue. That became the catalyst for us to gradually get closer. As we talked about daily happenings and amusing incidents, he became someone I was increasingly interested in. At first, it was love at first sight for me. But as I got to know Ivy, I realized that being with her made me feel so at ease. "Please marry me. I can't believe this day would come. I'm so happy." I thought I would spend my life dedicated to my work, growing older, but happiness suddenly came to me. Meeting again with someone I had passed by casually in the city, deepening our connection, and moving towards marriage. At that moment, I was at the peak of happiness, but at the same time, I had another thought in my mind. I won't end up like my sister, Emily. I will seize my own happiness. That's what I whispered to myself. My sister, Emily, is 2 years older than me. People think we must be close because we're not far apart in age, but that's a complete misunderstanding. I am the quiet type, if I do say so myself. I'm average in studies and fashion, and I decided to become a childcare worker simply because I love being around children. On the other hand, Emily is my exact opposite and spares no effort in being fashionable. She's always thinking about how to stay beautiful and how to dress up. In terms of social hierarchy, she was at the top, always wearing the latest trends, belonging to a group that others admired. Perhaps because of her social circles, she was always in relationships with men since her school days. Since she got her first boyfriend in the first year of middle school, Emily never had a period without a boyfriend. Right after graduating high school, she moved out to live with her then boyfriend. Eventually, she settled down at 25 because she had a daughter, but soon got divorced. We're connected on social media, so I occasionally check if she's doing well. She continues to post photos of herself all dressed up, but they leave me feeling a sense of emptiness. More than being a mother, she can't stand not being number one. Just like in her childhood, her surface is decorated like a facade. It's not about showing others how happy I am. I believed that weaving a life filled with true happiness with Yosef was what mattered. Right after getting married, I was happy. I loved coming home to the person I adored, eating dinner together, and spending peaceful evenings. Sharing what happened that day and laughing together felt irreplaceable. However, at some point, Yosef's words started to bother me. It was because Yosef began commenting on my appearance and behavior. He seemed like the type who wanted to control people according to his own wishes, constantly meddling in things. At first, I tried not to let it bother me, but there are things one simply cannot endure. Hey, Ivy, don't you ever wear makeup? Oh, this? As a daycare worker, it tends to come off while taking care of the kids or playing with them, so I don't wear much. But showing up to work like that isn't right, is it? Is it really that strange? I've always dressed like this. That day, I was wearing a hoodie and jeans. Since I commute by bike to the daycare, I prioritize ease of movement and change into my work clothes before starting my shift, so there's no real problem. I've always commuted in this style. Most working women in their 30s don't go out in such casual clothes. It's like you're in loungewear. Really? I've always dressed like this, but why are you bringing it up now? He often complains about my clothes and belongings. Starting with my bag and outfit, he also criticizes my hairstyle and makeup, saying they're not feminine or appropriate for a working adult. Once, when we went out for lunch and stopped by a bookstore downtown, he picked up a women's magazine and said, "Hey, why don't you ever dress like this, Ivy?" It was a magazine targeting office ladies, with glamorous headlines and decorations on the cover. Winning dresses to catch his eye this summer, perfect $300 outfit for a summertime date, honestly, things far removed from my interests. Sorry, but I'm not really into this kind of thing. I don't wear such outfits for work, and they don't suit me. Oh, I see. So you have no intention of dressing to please me. With that, he became sulky. It's been 6 months since we got married, and just when he started saying strange things, he would suddenly get moody. I didn't understand what he wanted or was thinking. Since that day, our relationship has been somewhat strained. We only talk when necessary, with no room for enjoyable chats or lighthearted jokes. It feels like there's a cold breeze blowing between us. We haven't had a major argument, nor do I remember saying anything that warranted an apology. At this point, I can't pinpoint what caused the rift in our relationship. If there was a past argument or issue, we could work to resolve it, but honestly, I have no idea. If I had to guess, it might be because I refused to wear the clothes he wanted me to. Is that it? But since we live together, sharing the same space and time, there are moments when we can casually talk if the mood aligns. Just as a TV program about infidelity came on, we were watching together. The usual commentators and hosts were debating the definition of cheating and where the line between acceptable and unacceptable lies. Of course, I think cheating is absolutely unacceptable. I've even broken up with a past boyfriend because of his infidelity. Given that I don't tolerate cheating even in a dating relationship, I believe it's even less acceptable in a marriage to secretly engage with someone of the opposite sex. Casually, I brought up the topic with him. Hey, this TV show is talking about cheating. Yeah, well, everyone's got their own take on what love is. Love takes different forms, that's true. Then Yosef started talking like a machine gun, as if trying to convince me. I mean, seriously? A marriage certificate, just one piece of paper, and you're not allowed to love anyone else ever again? Isn't that weird? I'm just saying, what's wrong with some freedom in love? Frankly, Yosef's words didn't sound like those of a married person. It felt like there was something hidden behind them. He might have had a reason for saying something so out of character. After all, is Yosef the type of person who wants to continue pursuing romantic interests even after getting married? And love isn't determined by the institution of marriage, but by the depth of your feelings, right? No matter how married you are, if you don't truly love the person, it's kind of pointless, isn't it? Hearing him say something like that made me wonder what marriage meant to him, and more than anything, it cast a shadow over my heart. It felt as if those words were directed at me, and I couldn't bring myself to look Yosef in the eyes. How could I have fallen for someone who could say something so unbelievable without changing his expression? Maybe I wasn't thinking straight back then. No matter how many days passed, his words kept bothering me. He's not the kind of person who would joke about something like that, and that's what made it even more perplexing. I felt a strange mix of confusion and a desire to know the truth. Was there a way to find out more? I flipped through a few pages of my work files while pondering. Yes, maybe I could ask that person. One day, Yosef came home without looking at me and said this right away. "Oh, I'm going on a business trip starting tomorrow." "What? Another trip? You were gone for about 3 days last week too, right?" Ignoring my surprise, he remained indifferent. "It can't be helped. Someone suddenly quit at this time of year and we're short-staffed. Since I'm a reliable expert, I have to keep the workplace running." Because he said it so suddenly, I couldn't help but ask. "Hey, do I know the person who quit? Was it that colleague you mentioned before?" Yosef used to tell me about things that happened at work and funny stories, so I knew some of the people he talked about frequently. I asked casually, but Yosef's expression hardened. "What? Does it matter? Does it have anything to do with you, Ivy?" "No, it doesn't. It's just a casual conversation." Then Yosef, clearly annoyed, cut the conversation short and went to the bathroom. Recently, it feels like his business trips have been increasing. It's been 3 years since we got married, and there haven't been any notable changes like department transfers or promotions. He hasn't mentioned anything like that, not even once. But suddenly, his business trips became more frequent. Once a month turned into twice, then 3 times. Now, there are weeks when he's away twice, sometimes he's gone for the entire week. The next day, before going to work, Yosef said something to me. "This trip is for an important client, so don't even think about contacting me." What, really? Telling me not to contact him no matter what seemed really serious. Got it? If my phone rings and I get distracted during a crucial meeting, it'll be your fault. Do you think you can handle being responsible if we lose a $10 million contract? He left, and I watched his back as he headed to work. I got ready to go to my own workplace. As usual, I put on a hoodie and jeans and rode my beloved bike. After working at my job and finishing my tasks, I took a break. There was a TV on in the break room, showing a report about a traffic accident. I was chatting with a coworker about the dangers of traffic accidents when my phone rang. I usually don't carry my phone with me at work, but I had it with me in the break room, so I noticed the call right away. The phone call was from an unknown number, and I answered it curiously, only to find it was from the police. They were informing me that Yosef had been in a car accident. He had seemed fine just a few days ago, and now he was in an accident. I couldn't believe it, but I pulled myself together to listen to what they had to say. Unfortunately, he had been seriously injured in the accident and was being taken to the hospital. They told me he hadn't regained consciousness yet and that I needed to come immediately. I quickly asked for the location of the accident and the name of the hospital where he was taken. But as I asked for the name, a question arose in my mind. The police station was in St. Helena, a well-known resort area. Does he go on business trips to such places too? That thought crossed my mind briefly. But anyway, I needed to get to him as soon as possible. We can talk about everything else later. I talked to my boss, left work early, and took some time off to rush to Yosef's side. However, before heading to Yosef, there was something I had to do first. I made a call to a certain place. Soon, they told me they would send the documents to my home. When I arrived at the hospital, he was lying in bed. It took him 5 days after the accident to finally regain consciousness. The doctor told me that he had collided head-on with a truck, suffering significant injuries, and as a result, he was paralyzed on one side of his body. No way. Yosef, it can't be true. Sorry, but please take care of the two of us. I couldn't help but wonder. Take care of the two of you? What on earth was he talking about? It didn't seem like a joke given the situation, so I asked. Sorry, who do you mean by the two of you? Yosef had a momentary look of realization, as if he had slipped up. Who? Well, it's obvious, me and Riley. Riley was Emily's daughter, my niece. I had only met her a few times at family gatherings, but why was she suddenly being mentioned here? Why Riley's name all of a sudden? Well, she contacted me during my business trip and said that if anything happened to me, to take care of her. Riley contacted Yosef specifically? And the first thing that came to my mind was, why not ask Emily? I blurted out without thinking. Did Yosef and Riley exchange contact information? Not Riley, more like Emily, kind of. Yosef and Emily had exchanged contact information? And now he was asking me to take care of them? And most importantly, Yosef's hesitant tone was really bothering me. With so many questions, I didn't know where to start when a nurse came in, wheeling a mobile bed. This is the other passenger involved in the same accident, she said, bringing the bed over. The moment I saw who was on the bed, I screamed. Because the woman on that bed was unmistakably Emily. And she had a big belly. Emily? Why are you here? And that belly, is it possible? The nurse had said she was the other passenger in the accident. And those two people Yosef mentioned, could it be? So, the car accident happened, and there's nothing we can do, so please take care of me and Emily. Wow! You get it quickly. It's great to have a smart woman in situations like this. I felt the blood drain from my head. This was too perfect to be a coincidence. It couldn't be just a coincidence. I was scared to ask, but I couldn't help it. So, Yosef, are you telling me that you went on a resort with Emily under the guise of a business trip, and then had a car accident during that trip? Well, the business trip was real, it's not a lie or anything. I just happened to see Emily and decided to give her a ride. His stuttering and desperate excuses are pathetic. I can somehow tell that my voice is trembling. I can't fully grasp the situation I'm in right now. Oh, so you just happened to run into Emily on a business trip, and then conveniently decided to enjoy a trip together? Really? I couldn't help but continue speaking rapidly to Yosef. My feelings were a chaotic mix of not wanting to hear any more and knowing I couldn't ignore this. Whether he realized how I felt or not, Yosef responded in a carefree tone. He still didn't seem to understand the gravity of the situation. He was probably thinking about how to cover it up. His eyes were darting around frantically. No, you're overinterpreting. You always jump to the worst conclusions. It's one of your bad habits. I saw this as my chance and confronted him with the truth. Yosef, this was a fake business trip, wasn't it? Just a cover for a romantic getaway with Emily. I would never fake a business trip. I'm a well-respected and busy man. I don't have time for fake trips. He still thought he could talk his way out of this, believing that shouting would erase the truth. So, you didn't fake the business trip? Do you think yelling at me will make the CEO believe you? Yosef prioritizes his job and his reputation above all else. He works solely for the praise and recognition from his superiors. Just mentioning the CEO's name made him falter. When I said the CEO's name, he seemed momentarily scared. Huh? CEO? What does the CEO have to do with this? If you really didn't do anything wrong, you should be able to explain everything to the CEO. Well, if you can. Yosef sneered and responded. Ivy, you have no experience in corporate life. The CEO wouldn't get involved in a regular employee's business trip. It's embarrassing that you don't know that. Say whatever you want. By the way, I have a letter from the CEO for you. As soon as he saw the envelope with the company logo, he suddenly seemed excited. This finally means my achievements are recognized. All these years working from the bottom up, enduring as a regular employee for over 15 years, it was worth it. Oh, so you're getting a promotion? I couldn't help but ask, barely holding back laughter at Yosef's confident assumption. Of course. My peers have been getting promoted, and I've been waiting my turn for 10 long years. It's been tough, but hard work pays off. Give me the letter. He genuinely seemed to think it was a promotion letter. Here you go. Take your time and read it. I handed him the envelope, and he snatched it, slamming it down on the hospital table. He looked at it intently with a tense expression. He slowly tore open the envelope with the company logo. As he unfolded the paper, his previously excited demeanor froze. A dismissal notice. Termination for cause? Why me? The envelope was indeed from the CEO of the company Yosef worked for. Look, there are more documents in the envelope. Maybe you'll understand if you read them. Shut up. Damn it. He angrily turned the envelope upside down, shaking out all the contents. The documents fell haphazardly onto the table, with a few scattering onto the floor. It's about the issues with the submitted receipts and the business trip routes. Do you recognize these documents? No way! There's no way! In fact, I had contacted the CEO of Yosef's company right after the accident and had them check everything, including the company mobile phone's GPS and the expense receipts. The CEO himself had been suspicious of Yosef's actions. I am grateful to the CEO for taking proactive steps because it was a call from an employee's wife. Thanks to the CEO's own involvement, we were able to gather solid evidence in an instant that Yosef couldn't overturn by himself. No matter how much he struggled, it was undeniable that Yosef had made a fictitious business trip and misused company expenses. It seems like the CEO has been keeping a close eye on Yosef as well. As expected, the CEO has been thoroughly watching you. Shut up! Shut up! It's already over. Your usual tricks and lies won't work anymore. How much did you know? How much? I already knew you were going to be fired. In fact, right after I asked them to start the investigation, the CEO had informed me that they were planning to fire him. However, considering Yosef's long service at the company, they also said they would accept his voluntary resignation. Being fired for cause. Hey, what am I supposed to do now? Oh, but Ivy, you're a childcare worker, so it's fine for you, right? Fine for me? What do you mean? I asked Yosef, who had a self-satisfied expression on his face. Because you have qualifications, you can work anywhere, anytime. I do have a childcare qualification, but I'll be a stay-at-home dad and take care of Emily and Riley. Nowadays, you can ask for help from volunteers or helpers for childcare. And during that time, Ivy will work. Isn't that a great idea? I was disgusted by his terrible speech, delivered with flared nostrils. His unbelievably selfish statements made a mix of exasperation and anger well up inside me. Who would lend you a hand? You and the volunteers. I couldn't understand his belief that he could still rely on someone for help. Living while helping each other is essential, but it's clear that he only thought about getting help one-sidedly. It's not wrong to rely on someone, but living a life where you're constantly thinking about getting help from others is beyond me. I didn't go through the trouble of getting a childcare qualification to support a cheating, dishonest person. I'm not working to live with someone like that. I handed Yosef the business card of the lawyer I had already hired and told him, "We're getting a divorce. I'll be getting compensation from the divorce trial. For anything else, go through the lawyer." Huh? Demanding compensation from a paralyzed person, are you a devil? Do you know what you're doing? I sighed in exasperation and said, "Do you know what you're doing?" I should ask you the same question. If you think back on what you've done, maybe you'll understand. You married me because you loved me, right? The vows in sickness and in health, was that a lie? He grabbed the hem of my clothes with his functioning hand, but I forcefully shook it off. Then I finished telling Yosef everything and looked down at Emily in the bed next to him. Hey, Emily. You've always needed to be number one, haven't you? Even with me, your own sister. Emily's face momentarily showed a hint of fear, but she quickly returned to her usual expression. That's right. I can't stand that quiet Ivy got married successfully. I was supposed to marry a rich man first. Marry a rich man? I asked without thinking. That's right. The guy I dated right after high school was into gambling and never worked. Then I dated Riley's dad, who had a low salary, and we lived in an apartment forever. I can't take it anymore. Emily cried, but her words were completely selfish. You're always thinking about what others can do for you. I'm a woman. My job is to be beautiful, to be a shining jewel by my husband's side. Well, Yosef may not be that good-looking, but he works for a well-known company, and I thought his salary might be good. She said this while glaring at me. It's because you didn't break up with him quickly that we had to hide and be together in secret, and that's why the accident happened. Emily glanced back and forth between Yosef and me. So, you're saying it's my fault? Isn't it? What else? You chose your partners yourself. And using someone's income as a reason to go after another woman's husband is just not right. I felt my head starting to ache from talking to these two any longer, so I decided to cut it short. Besides, staying in the hospital room too long would be a nuisance. I was amazed at how easily these lines came out, like something from a drama. The sheer absurdity of her words left me speechless for a moment. We'll discuss the rest through lawyers, Emily. For now, here's a lump sum for compensation. That's all I'll say. What? Compensation? For someone who's paralyzed? You sound just like Yosef. It's laughable. It's unfortunate that you're paralyzed, but you were on a cheating trip, weren't you? It's your own fault. Emily reacted strongly to my words. You brought this on yourself. I muttered under my breath that it wasn't my fault, watching her face gradually turn pale, wondering how far she would go to avoid responsibility. In the end, Yosef and I got divorced. I had hired a lawyer who specialized in divorce cases, and we managed to get a higher settlement than usual from Yosef and Emily. I heard that after quitting his job, Yosef has been drifting from place to place. Emily, having tried to take her sister's husband, was disowned by her family and has been wandering with no place to go. She had found temporary support at a facility for people with disabilities, but all she did was complain, saying things like, "This isn't the kind of work I should be doing and I can't stand these tedious tasks." Not only was she unproductive, but she was also a nuisance to other users, leading to her being banned from the facility. Without access to welfare services or job placements, she has been surviving on the bare minimum disability insurance. As for Emily's child, Riley, I contacted Riley's dad, who gladly took him in. During the divorce, there was a custody battle, but Emily's fixed idea that a child should be with their mom and the mediator's decision resulted in her getting custody. I was a bit worried about Riley, so I was relieved when he was taken in by his dad. I felt that Riley could never truly be happy staying with Emily, so this was a comfort. I continue to work at the daycare, living my usual life. Regarding the settlement, Yosef's share was paid by his family, while Emily took out a loan to pay her part. Even though I received more money than I had expected, the happy days when I knew nothing are gone forever. With that, I can only move forward. No matter how much I look back, I can't return to those days, so I must move on. Maybe quitting my job and traveling to a foreign country I've never been to might be a good idea. With all these thoughts running through my mind, I spend my days.